you had brought up the whole celebrities trying to do everything. I was like,
Yeah.
talking about celebrities, cut the
Celebrities.
whole thing. Yeah, but going into celebrities want to do anything. We've seen the whole shift of celebrities becoming creative directors for something they have no idea
What
what
house
they're
do you
doing.
think Stephen A. Smith would be a creative director at?
The Gap going on. And the Baby Gap.
The
Not
baby.
I think that maybe he's capable of that. He can make a bib or some shit. On some calm shit.
Fair enough.
But nah,
Hell yeah.
going into the thing, I really wanted to get into, because now we've seen like a big shift in fashion when it comes to creative directors. And if you don't know what a creative director is, it's a person in leadership that kind of, because they don't design, they lead the design team, they'll lead like creative brand shoots, photo shoots. They're essentially the leader of the whole operation. One case in point that you've seen a celebrity become a creative director recently, and this was probably a couple weeks ago, A$AP Rocky became the first creative director of Ray-Ban.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's crazy. The first one is
The
crazy.
first one, yes.
Shit.
And what was crazy is like, you can make the conversation of like, well,
He's into fashion type shit.
I like some of Rocky's songs.
yeah,
The fuck did he know about glasses?
No,
I like
that's
some
it,
of
it's like,
Rocky's
what? No, real shit. And it's like, it's Ray-Bans. It's not like a gentle monster or a glasses that kind of like goes towards the youth. No, we're talking about an old established brand that, if we had to be
Old
real,
money.
goes to old
Yeah,
money,
old
goes to
money,
old
for
rich
real.
white people for
Yeah.
real. So to kind of see him going there was like a big like, whoa, like how is this gonna happen? Like what like aspect is he gonna bring to this? And I think, in my opinion, what he'll bring to it, I think he'll make it more accessible to the youth. Because I remember I was a kid, I used to wear Ray-Bans. And no one really knew what Ray-Bans were when we were growing up. Go ahead.
So you think it's a good fit for him at Ray-Ban?
I think it's a good fit, yeah.
Who? Well, I know you're probably gonna get into it, but what's an example you would say of like a bad fit for a creative?
He starts smiling.
Who's a
Let the
who's a
people
bad
know.
fit?
A$AP Rocky was a good fit. Now let's talk about the bad fits. Let me give you a list.
Give you a list. It's
Let
crazy.
me give you a list.
Okay. I'll get into Pharrell in a second. But
Oh yeah.
Kendall Jenner is the creative director of Ford. If you don't know what
Wait.
Hold on.
Kendall Jenner, the highest paid model, is the creative director of Ford. If you
Wait, the Ford.
No,
not the room.
Not
Ford.
Oh.
Ford.
I know you said four.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Oh no, it was Ford. I would have lost my mind.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
right.
be here
Ford
speaking.
is
I was like,
No,
they have a
Ford is
creative-
essentially like high fashion, like a GOAT. Like
Oh,
it's like a
I've
high
seen
fashion GOAT.
Ford,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they kind of like do like below retail type shit, and it's like all that. So she's the creative director of that. Cardi B is the creative director of Playboy. Yes, and the first creative director.
When
What?
did that
Hold on.
happen?
Yeah,
Actually,
that happened in like.
Yeah, I can see
actually,
that.
I can see
sense.
Cardi being creative director of Playboy.
Something.
But like, does she actually like?
No.
I mean,
no.
she lived the life.
I mean, no, not like does she actually live life. I'm like, does she actually like
Well,
creatively
then-
design like anything or like
But
push it
that
in
will get into my point, right?
Well,
But I'm gonna keep going. Okay, Versace enlisted Dua Lipa to create a fall collection in
Fucking Dua Lipa.
2023.
Like,
That was in 2023.
Versace.
Bullshit.
Dolce and Gabbana. They got Kim
Oh, Kim
Kardashian
Kardashian.
to do a spring
That
summer
was actually a
collection
really
in
good
2023.
It really
Now,
was.
going all to that, the point was you said was no, he said like that makes sense. She fits there, right? If she fits there, why not do a collab? Why not make her a brand ambassador? Why is she the
Right.
creative director of the brand?
Yeah.
And you have to look at first why. First, we look at because brands mostly did collabs. Like you bought back in the day Jordans because of Michael Jordan, but now it's developed into something different. Now it's people don't want collabs anymore. I think the reason why people don't want collabs anymore is people like everything is too accessible to see celebrities' lives for real, and that comes that parasocial like relationship of like, yo, I fuck with this nigga so heavy. If he was the creative director of such and such, you would buy his shit. Rather, it's a collab and you see them on like their IG story, like, hey, buy this. It's not gonna hit the same. And I think the first person that kind of started this wave, and I don't want to even say his name, was Ye.
Yeah.
Ye, I think, did it properly because it wasn't a collab. No, he had his own line Yeezy that collabed with Adidas
they
that
just
created
used,
that
like
partnership.
utilize
Yeah.
that like,
Yeah.
partnership of manufacturing and shit like that.
Exactly, but you always knew it was Ye's brand. And not only that, it was a good product. I think why collabs got dead was because, bro, the products became ass. It was bad because the companies were just relying on the name.
What were you gonna say about Pharrell? I'm very intrigued.
Oh,
with
Yeah.
Pharrell. Oh, I'll
yeah.
get to Pharrell.
Okay.
But I think they really should. I think it developed more not to collab, but to creative direction because they understand that, hey, if they put this person and they make them the brand, not only will it give them sales, not only will people flock to it because it's that person, but I think it gives brands that need a reinvention more leeway to actually reinvent themselves. Case in point, Ray-Bans. Ray-Bans needed reinvention.
Yeah.
Because you see
Yeah.
new
Look
glasses
how
coming
many
through.
young like black kids now that are gonna get into like. having
Exactly.
I
Ray-Bans.
remember like
you have Rocky
26
doing
I
it.
remember like 2016, 2015 era. Only time I'd hear Ray-Bans would be like in a Jason Derulo music video where they had like the shutter shades. Like no one really, like no one was like rocking it like that or whatever. And now it's like that is gonna become a whole new thing or associated with a whole new like aura, I guess, with Rocky as a part of it.
Yeah, no, it's completely different now because, like I said last episode, what's going to be big in 2025, like towards like rest of the years, is accessories. So when you have a brand like that, you know what? They were like, yo, accessories are the trend. We need to make our shit more accessible to the youth. Let's get Rocky. And that's a person who can do it. That's a good fit. Now, that's the good sides of why it could be good to have a celebrity as a creative. Now let's get to the bad sides.
Yeah.
Pharrell Williams.
Okay.
Pharrell Williams, case in point.
Okay.
You think-
Now
yeah.
I'm gonna explain this, right? So, BBC, you got the shirt on, bro. Pharrell, good shit. Pharrell done this shit with Bape. Pharrell done
Human
this shit with
Error.
Human Made.
Or Human Made, that's what it is.
Adidas, bro. He done did a whole bunch of shit, right? Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton is the biggest fashion house in the world. That is like that is the biggest thing for a lot of fashion
standard,
designers.
yeah.
So when Virgil, a person who kind of not only with Ye put on to, and it's not like he intentionally did it, to becoming the celebrity creative director, they needed something. They needed that other edge because everyone knew who Virgil was. Even though Virgil was a great designer, everyone knew who he was because he was around rappers, around that culture. So after losing that, they realized, yo, like, in order to get sales, we really
we
can
need
just
someone who's in
implement
that
any
culture.
celebrities
Same
that goes
culture.
towards that
Yeah,
culture.
same, yeah.
So when you look at it, they're like, there's millions of fashion designers, and I mean great fashion
Yeah.
designers, but they didn't choose
They don't
one.
got a name.
Guess who they chose?
Pharrell.
Exactly. They have no name, no nothing.
That's
They
crazy.
chose the person who had a little bit of backing and who could really provide for the culture, and that was Pharrell.
I think Pharrell has done. I think Pharrell has done a good job. Honestly, I really do. Right, and I was hating for a bit, but actually, like looking at the collections, I think he's done a good job. But the one thing I will say is, you're right in the sense that it stepped more into like a mainstream kind of thing instead of
Completely.
it actually being like about the clothes.
Yeah.
And that's because you have someone like Pharrell who's heading it. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
have
Right.
a celebrity rapper.
And mind
song,
you,
know what I mean?
Pharrell
Like-
is very talented.
Yeah, very
and
talented.
he's insanely talented, especially when it comes to like music and producing or whatever. I'm not saying that he has done nothing on the fashion design side. I'm pretty sure he's decent to good at that too.
yeah.
But it's like you have to ask yourself the question: how many more people like could really take like that
Louis
brand?
I
like,
thought it
on
was
and
very
everything.
interesting.
Yeah.
Like for instance, right? I thought it was very interesting. Not saying that I didn't like it, but I thought it was interesting this early in Pharrell's career to do something with Nigo, like
Yeah.
at Louis,
It's-
which is cool. Like you putting people on, but at the same time, it almost shows. I feel like it shows almost like a weakness,
Yeah.
in a sense, because it's like.
Because it's that reliance.
Yeah, that
But-
reliance
but
that like
then
we
again-
knew Pharrell, we were talking about that. Like we knew Pharrell would have that kind of reliance because he's never been in that position of actually designing those clothes like that.
At all. And then again, it kind of shows like that doesn't matter because his name carries it all.
Yeah.
And you kind of see with that move, I think what pissed everybody off was you can see the shift happening from there in the sense of this is a shift towards commercial success rather than protecting and maintaining the soul of the house.
Yeah,
was
you gotta
gonna
remember,
say,
Louis
right?
been around for like over 100 years.
Yeah,
I
bro,
was
it's
gonna
been
say,
around
yeah,
for
you
a
think
long
it's?
time.
I think because we've kind of touched on it multiple times that like influence of profit and like I guess capitalism in general in the fashion industry and doing what's best for profit. You think that was more of like the move when it comes to Louis Vuitton and getting Pharrell?
Yeah,
It's not,
for sure.
Again,
I
not
think-
to take away from his talent. But also, like, you have to understand it's going to turn over a lot more bread for them in the short
I'll
term.
tell you this.
Okay,
Right.
devil's advocate though. At the same time, though, right? Like we just said, Louis been around for over 100 years.
Yeah.
So maybe you need that kind of like
Now,
commercialization.
I'll say this,
of
right?
The brand.
Yeah.
You could say that, but
That's
Virgil,
black man.
that's true. Virgil increased their sales. Like he increased their whole shit and kind of made Louis popping again. And then when he passed away, they did like test runs for other collections because they didn't know who to replace because that's a big replacement you have to fill. This isn't like Jonathan Anderson. You're actually a celebrity.
I think that's the issue. Not only are you like you're taking those profits over, but also you have to fill humongous shoes. Pharrell needs to diversify himself within Louis, and he has not done that. He's kind of just.
Yeah, because think about it, you're going from somebody who became a massive like celebrity through like the genuine work and the fashion and like the work that they put in through their own shit, like in the fashion world. And now it's like now you're getting somebody who represents like that. Like,
but wears the clothes. But like
he ain't like
you can't just
find
Virgil.
He ain't Virgil.
He can't find Virgil. You know,
then I think
yeah.
the bad thing about it is, right, and I think there's like 3 things a lot of people look for when it comes to incentive to buying clothes, and especially Louis prices, bro. We went to Louis, they had a $5,000 leather jacket. Okay, bro. We look at that, and you have to look at it, right? It's like, I'm going to pay $5,000 for this jacket for a designer who isn't even a designer, who kind of led people to make this and has no backing of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though a lot of people don't think of it like that. Guess what the incentive is now? Oh, shit, Pharrell designed this? Yo, even though a lot of people don't have 5 bands to spend, but the people who do, it's like, yo, I have, like, what is that word? Like, you have... like backing to buy it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's I don't know. I feel like you're right in that sense. I also feel like we should play that line of like, okay, well.
No, I will say like it's just kind of like acknowledging where the profits like lead people within the industry, but it's not to say that like Pharrell being a part of it is a negative or he don't know what he's doing.
Right.
Still Pharrell.
I think really the only negative aspect of it is the change he'll make in the sense of like the big thing
won't like really look at the designers no more like that.
They won't. They won't prioritize actual talent and people who can actually change it.
It kind of puts another dent in that like myth of meritocracy thing because there's so many like fashion designers or people who do like creative work or creative directing that like if you gave them the keys to Louis Vuitton or something like that, it could do crazy stuff. Yeah. But like that's not with an established house like that. They're like way less likely to take the risk on somebody like that when they can assure that's.
I feel like that's also why you need some celebrities though. Like you have those celebrities that are tapped into like that space. Like a Ye, for instance. Like Ye is tapped into that. Why hasn't Ye or why didn't Ye get more Chicago? Like not even influencers, designers, and
that's
people involved. You know what I mean?
That's because Ye and Virgil, when they first came out, they literally like once they decided they want to do the fashion shit, they literally left.
They left.
And they went to Paris to learn. And that was the thing with them. Why like, that's a little more valid for the two of them because they genuinely like got to learn. Now I don't know about Pharrell, but with them they literally were shadowing under like brands like the Giuseppe. Like they literally designed that and they were under that and they were like, okay, well these are actual designers because they learned. But I think now the problem is it's a case in point where the designers don't get enough like attention for it now. I think it's with Pharrell there, and you look at like a lot of other collabs like Rocky at Ray-Bans. You look at Rihanna at Puma. You look at all these different case in points, and you're like, this dilutes the creative director name in a sense of like when you looked at a creative director, you looked at the Mason Margiela, the Alexander McQueen's. Like you looked at those, and those actually gave it meaning. When you put anyone and anyone up there, bro, it dilutes the name. At that point, it isn't that. It's just someone you can put up to promote sales.
It's like damn near. I was going to say, it's damn near the difference between a brand ambassador and a creative director. Once you start putting those celebrities there that should be like brand ambassadors, now it's like, what the fuck is the point of you?
And think about this, right? Another bad thing what it does for the whole fashion scene is it now makes creative directors into celebrities that don't even want to. They understand they need to be to get that position. You look at Marc Jacobs. A lot of people know Marc Jacobs is because he's became a celebrity, bro.
Recently he's became a celebrity.
He was with Uzi, all types of shit. You look at when Louis first got Pharrell, right? Bro, who was on there? Nigga, Rihanna when she was pregnant. LeBron James. LeBron James has never done anything. Now you're seeing, okay, let me utilize my connections so I could really promote the shit of this instead of like actually focusing on the soul of clothes. When Alexander McQueen was in his shit and was doing other creative directing roles for other house, bro, it was different because the sole focus wasn't becoming a celebrity. Sole focus was focusing on the clothes and the actual artistic brand image of that.
Yeah, I feel like it overall points to like the TikTokification of like
Yeah.
shit, in the sense where like now everybody, regardless, because there's so much in like stuff put in popular culture, social media, like stuff like that, you have to maintain that other side, that celebrity image, that celebrity status, because that's kind of like what everybody's hunting for.
I genuinely feel like, and that kind of goes into this next. You know what I'm saying?
Can I say one last thing? One last thing before we transition. I want to give a little bit of a bright side. 'Cause I feel like I've been talking about like all the downsides. I think the bright side to this, and it's, of course I talked about the pros in the beginning, but I think what this will do is it'll make big houses like stale. They'll rely on that. But I think what that will do is open new doors for other brands. I think brands that don't have to, I think brands that can rely on it, who don't have to make creative directors, but they can make creative ambassadors and actually do collabs, right? Those brands will shine. Miu Miu, like all those other brands, those little brands will shine.
Yeah.
And they
Because
have
now they have the doors open. And they have been. And they actually can, like Yakmis, they like utilize celebrities perfectly and brand shoots perfectly
and the
to the
brand
point
shoots
where
perfectly,
the shit is so creative and so good it doesn't matter. You know?
Would you say that we'll see like a smaller brand takeover, like in the industry?
I know.
A smaller brand. Well, this brand isn't even small, but it wasn't as high as like LVMH. I think like Miu Miu was going to like.
You said Soho Studios?
That's
Soho Studios to the moon. Freedom shirt on me, freedom shirt on.
Thank you for watching this long. If you haven't already, subscribe. What are you doing?
What is you doing?
What are you doing? You think we just sitting here doing it for nothing?
You think you're gonna sit here and not
Need
do
to
shit? Like,
Click that I know you're not subscribed. Click it.
cool.